Well, hello there, everybody. Welcome back to Movies You Missed podcast. This is episode 162. This is our 3rd year anniversary at Movies You Missed podcast, bringing you movies that have been forgotten, maybe fallen under the radar, or just need to be revisited. That is what this podcast is all about, and I'm very excited for these movies today. But first, let's find out how Vee is doing next to me. Vee, how are you today?
Happy anniversary, John.
Yay, anniversaries. I didn't get you a card this year, sorry.
Well, that's okay. We're even. I didn't get you one either.
All right. I don't feel like cards are very personal these days, especially if you buy a card and it's already got the poem inside it. I feel like you should write your own, especially if we were to give each other cards. I would hope they would be cinema-related. We are here to discuss our 3rd year anniversary, so we decided to go with a trilogy episode today. And Vee, I'm excited to get into yours because I had never seen yours, and I'm also very excited to get into mine because you and I love mine so very much, and I believe majority of our audience does as well.
I certainly hope so, and I'm so excited to introduce my film to you this week. And congratulations on 3 years of no spoilers, too.
Very true. No spoilers here at Movies You Missed podcast. So let's jump into this week's episode of our 3 years of our trilogy. Vee, what did you choose for this week's episode?
Yes, like you said, for our anniversary, we decided to choose the 3rd movie in a trilogy of trilogies that we were at least fans of, and there are actually a lot to choose from. I've already picked Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Obviously, we have to mention Return of the Jedi.
Oh, yes.
Back to the Future, even Alien 3 if you get the right cut of it. So there were a lot of 3rd movies and trilogies to choose from, but to commemorate our 3rd anniversary and to commemorate our podcast in general, I thought the best one to do would be to go back to our first year ever at Movies You Missed podcast and pick the 3rd movie in this trilogy that I've talked a lot about on this podcast. So I am doing 1995's Die Hard 3. The official title is Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Yes, I did not know that was number 3. For some reason, I always thought that was actually the sequel.
Oh, no, Die Hard 2, Die Harder.
Ah, okay.
Die Hard 2 sucks. Never watch it.
I've heard that it's terrible.
It is, but Die Hard 3 is the redemption. Die Hard with a Vengeance stars Bruce Willis, Samuel L. Jackson, Jeremy Irons, and a whole host of other character actors, some of which we're big fans of. I've been watching this movie since I was quite young. In fact, I watched this movie before I ever saw the original.
Whoa.
My sister did not introduce me to Die Hard in order.
Oh, all right. I guess I haven't seen them in order either, because I've only seen the last 2, 4 and 5. Is that Live Free or Die Hard, and then whatever one the other one was?
Well, you of course have seen Die Hard because it was my first ever Christmas episode pick back in our first year.
Well, yes, but I had seen the other 2 way before seeing the first Die Hard, because I had never seen the first Die Hard at that time.
That's right.
So I was way out of order.
So I've continued to introduce you to Bruce Willis as John McClane as we've gone through this podcast.
Yes, you have.
And that is because we are reunited with John McClane for this 3rd movie of the Die Hard franchise. It is based in New York. Even though he's a New York cop, it's the first time he is ever in New York in any of these movies, which is pretty cool.
Ah.
But he's not doing too well. Our friend Detective John McClane is really washed up. He's on suspension. He's becoming an alcoholic. He's been separated from his wife and his children for over a year. This man is not doing well. But unfortunately, New York has just been a target of a bombing. One day, even though it seems like a normal morning in New York, a storefront is targeted and a bomb goes off. And while police are investigating and trying to find out who exactly was responsible, the captain gets a phone call.
Major Case Unit, Inspector Cobb.
Said Simple Simon to the pieman going to the fair, give me your pies, or I'll cave your head in. You see, Bonwitz was just to make sure I had your attention. Is there a detective named McClane there?
He's on suspension.
No, Walter, he's not. Not today.
Who is this?
Call me Simon.
What do you want?
I want to play a game.
What kind of game?
Simon says. Simon's going to tell Lieutenant McClane what to do, and Lieutenant McClane is going to do it. Non-compliance will result in a penalty.
What penalty?
Another big bang in a very public place.
What is it that you want Lieutenant McClane to do?
Simon says Lieutenant McClane is to go to the corner of 138th Street and Amsterdam.
And so even though John McClane is on suspension, he gets called back to work. And this terrorist, Simon, has given him a task to do, which is go to Harlem and wear a sandwich board sign that is quite offensive.
Yeah. I was waiting to see what was going to be on that damn thing.
Yes. And while he's standing on a corner in Harlem, we are introduced to Samuel L. Jackson's character, Zeus. He owns his own shop, and he seems like a no-nonsense kind of guy. He takes the world and his neighborhood very seriously, and so when he sees a white man with that specific sign, which I will not talk about on this podcast, but you will see it if you watch the movie, he knows he needs to do something about it. And so he goes out and tries to help this man. He doesn't know it's a detective. He doesn't know he's a cop or that anything else is going on yet. He's just out there trying to keep a situation from spilling over into violence. Through some hard work, he actually does. He's able to help John McClane, even though John is noticed by some neighborhood guys who understandably get pretty pissed when they read his sign.
Oh, yeah.
But Zeus is able to save John from the situation. They jump into a cab and drive off. And this is where John and Zeus get formally introduced.
Hey, Zeus, right? John McClane, I owe you one.
Damn right you owe me. You got any idea what those guys are doing to my shop right
Chill
now?
out, hey, Zeus.
Chill out? What the fuck? Are you trying to relate to me? Talk like a white man.
Okay, Zeus, I'm sorry you got involved.
Why you keep calling
right?
me Jesus? I look Puerto Rican to you.
Guy back there called you Hey Zeus.
He didn't say Jesus. He said, hey, Zeus. My name is Zeus.
Zeus?
Yeah, Zeus. As in father of Apollo, Mount Olympus. Don't fuck with me or I'll shove a lightning bolt up your ass. Zeus! You got a problem with that?
No. Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
So it turns out that Simon has some plans for John McClane, and now Zeus, who has to join him, and they are sent all over New York City to solve riddles so they can prevent other bombs that Simon has planted throughout the city from going off. And at one point, Simon even calls in and says that he has planted a major bomb inside of a school. So now, not only are John and Zeus off doing random riddles, which I always really enjoyed the riddles that they wrote into this movie.
Oh, yeah.
Now the entire NYPD is looking for a bomb inside of a school. And so everybody's running around, very hectic, very busy. And here's where we're finally introduced to who Simon is. He's played by Jeremy Irons. He's a badass in this movie. And it turns out he actually has a master plan. He has distracted all the police in New York City because he is about to commit a major robbery. And one of the reasons I love this film so much is that you finally have a villain who is highly intelligent. It's so fun following him along throughout this movie, seeing what his plans are, what's going to happen next, because there are so many levels to this plan, and you realize you kind of have to respect the guy because he really has everybody chasing their tails.
Oh, yeah.
And while John and Zeus are running all over New York trying to solve these riddles, there are so many great action scenes to it. At one point, they have to steal a cab because Simon specifically tells them they can't use any police support or vehicles in order to get to their next destination, which is like 90 blocks in New York traffic. Yeah. And so they have to steal a cab, and then John decides that the best way to get those 90 blocks is to drive literally through Central Park.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why that scene specifically happened is that the writer of this movie, Jonathan Hensley, always fantasized about driving through the park in order to avoid New York traffic.
Ah, all right.
And so when he was writing this screenplay, he decided to put it in there to finally fulfill his fantasy.
That's pretty cool. I've walked through Central Park to avoid traffic. Always cut through the park if you can.
So as we're following along, not only John McClane and Zeus trying to solve all these riddles, we're also following along Simon, as I said. And it turns out Simon wants to commit a major heist. In fact, he wants to rob the Federal Reserve in New York City. And the plan he has is so badass. It's like when you fantasize about robbing an armored car, you watch this movie and go, I wonder if you could pull something like that off, actually.
Absolutely.
It's a lot of fun to watch. And this movie is full of great action, very fun dialogue between John McClane and Zeus, played by Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson, because Samuel L. Jackson is a great comedic relief. He is a great sidekick, because he is a sidekick in this movie, even though I think they're both kind of top billed in this, because they share, I think, the same amount of screen time.
Absolutely.
But it reminded me of The Long Kiss Goodnight that I chose last December, him being paired up with Gina Davis. Same thing. Great chemistry, great dialogue back and forth, a lot of comedic relief. He's really, really good in a role like this.
Oh, yeah.
He's been in the MCU for a long time, so I don't see these types of roles that he plays anymore. I hope he gets back to them at some point because they are so entertaining. And so for the rest of the movie, you are following these three guys on their different missions with very, very different goals. And it's just a really fun time. I think it's a great third installment of this franchise. I really loved seeing John McClane again. It's nice to see him in New York, his supposed hometown, because he is an NYPD detective. And I thought that Jeremy Irons played a great bad guy. And so I have a lot of fun with this movie. I've been watching it since I was about 10 years old, so a little bit after it came out. I've been watching this movie now for 30 years because this movie actually came out May 19th of 1995, which...
Oh, wow.
With the release of this episode, we are almost exactly 30 years to the day to celebrate Die Hard with a Vengeance.
That's wild.
So it's the movie's anniversary too, not just our podcast anniversary. So I'm really happy that I picked it. And you've never seen it before, so I'm eagerly awaiting your opinion.
All right, let's get into it. I had a great time with it for a third installment. Like I said, I have not even seen Die Hard 2 Die Harder, because you've always told me not to, as has everybody else, similar to The Godfather Part 3. Don't watch Godfather Part 3.
Which is why I didn't pick it for this episode, because it's
there
terrible.
You go. Yes. So I rented this on Apple, and I enjoyed my 2 hours. I thought it was going to be a little shorter. I kind of felt it did kind of stretch towards the final half hour of the movie.
Agreed.
But, okay, cool. But overall, Sam Jackson was great. I love the whole thing when they're in the cab after Sam Jackson's character, Zeus, throws him into the cab, and McClane's just like, hey, Zeus, where are we going? Hey, Zeus. He's like, why you keep calling me Hey, Zeus, motherfucker? He's like, isn't that your name? He goes, no, they said, hey, Zeus. Zeus is my name. It's like, that was good. I liked a lot of the action. I thought the whole thing with the fountain and the jugs was fun. I will say
my favorite riddle.
Oh yeah, that was a good one. I liked the every phone call that they took was good. The whole subway sequence was awesome. I really got a little bit annoyed with the continuation of the ants go marching in. I don't know if that was some sort of nod to Stanley Kubrick or not, but I was getting a little tired of hearing it, but I still went along with it. I thought Jeremy Irons was great. I liked the reveal of who he was. And overall, I thought it was hilarious seeing Noah Vanderhoff's wife in this movie as well from Wayne's World.
Yes, that is Noah Vanderhoff's wife. Her name is Colleen Camp. She plays another detective on the squad. She has blonde, curly hair. She's in almost the entire movie as a side character, so you'll definitely recognize her when you see her. Not only is she Mrs. Vanderhoff in Wayne's World, but she is also Yvette, the maid in Clue, which is so awesome. And she's in 4 Christmases playing Aunt Donna.
Are you serious?
Uh-huh.
That is insane. I honestly do not even remember seeing her in 4 Christmases, so that's great. We've covered her a couple of times now at least.
We have, and we will again in the future because I'm picking Clue.
Perfect. So yeah, overall, I enjoyed it. I would give it a solid B+.
Nice.
I thought Bruce Willis was great and definitely a fun flick, especially for 1995. It was had a lot of speed kind of going along in there as well. Definitely a 90s action flick, but a good one, not one where I was having an eye roll fest, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it totally does. And another reason why I love this action movie so much is not only are most of the effects practical, they really did blow up a subway train and have it sliding on that platform.
Oh, damn. Yeah, that was pretty sweet.
Yeah, in that station. And the stuntmen really were running for their lives because that train ended up sliding at about 40 miles an hour.
Oh, yikes. Can only imagine being on that set that day.
But the other reason why I like it so much, beyond the practicality and great action scenes, is because I love that our protagonists get hurt, that they show them bleeding, that they show them messed up. I hate a lot of action movies nowadays where somebody crashes off a motorcycle and they don't have a scratch on them.
Oh yeah, that's the worst.
I'm looking at you,
so
Tom
unrealistic. Yeah, exactly. Just one scratch on his cheek.
Yeah, it's the only knock I have against a lot of Tom Cruise's roles is many, many times he doesn't have a scratch on him. And a lot of the other new action movies that come out these days have that same problem, I think. I like the realism of Die Hard, that this is an average Joe, that he's just trying to survive, and if he can defeat the bad guys, it's really icing on the cake. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
It really is life or death, and you can feel it because of that. So I love that part of it, too. I also thought of you in the beginning of this movie because it has a little bit of a Children of Men opening that la-di-da,
absolutely,
everything's okay, you don't really know what's going to happen, and then bam, there's a huge explosion.
Yes, I almost said that early on when you were breaking down the movie, but I wanted to wait. But I'm glad that you brought it up because it totally reminded me of Children of Men. So did the opening of that terrible movie I saw last week, Thunderbolts. Very similar opening to Children of Men, Thunderbolts. It didn't make it any better, though.
Oh, bummer. Well, I'm so glad to hear that you enjoyed this film. I was really excited to introduce it to you. It's been a favorite, like I said, it's been a favorite of mine for a really long time, and happy to have it on this podcast too, and complete the trilogy, because we don't need to talk about any other Die Hard movies after this one. So complete the trilogy for you.
Come on, we're not going to talk about John McClane riding the F-16 on the freeway. Come on.
Live Free or Die Hard, which is the fourth movie, is a guilty pleasure of mine, and I saw it on a very first date.
Oh, all right.
Yeah.
Well, that's either a good thing or a bad thing. So.
Well, it was a good thing for a lot of years, and
all right.
Then it wasn't.
There you go.
But the nice thing is Die Hard with a Vengeance was introduced to me by my sister Shannon, so only good memories from that one.
There you go.
And we've talked about Bruce Willis a lot on this show, all the way back to the very beginning of the podcast, because I picked him for episode 7 in Lucky Number 11.
Yeah, Mr. Good Cat.
As I mentioned, the original Die Hard, which is a Christmas pick of mine from our first year. You talked about him when you picked 12 Monkeys.
Yes.
And then I talked about him in Looper.
Oh, hell yeah. God, he's done so many fucking good movies.
And then you talked about him in Armageddon.
Yeah!
And I talked about him in The Whole Nine Yards.
See, so many good movies. There's not a bad movie in that list you just listed. Not a single bad movie in that list. Not one single bad movie in that list that you just mentioned. None.
Yes. Well, I didn't ever say Armageddon was bad. I just didn't like
true.
it as much as you, and it hasn't aged well, but it's fine. No, actually, I think that suffers from being too long much more than Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Oh, no. Armageddon's just the right length.
Oh, my God. It takes forever.
That's what she said. No, it doesn't. It's so great. I love it, as our audience knows.
So Bruce Willis is a big part of our podcast, so I'm really happy to talk about him on our 3rd anniversary.
As am I. He has been in my life since far back as I can remember. Love you, Bruce.
And same with Samuel L. Jackson, because he stars in your all-time favorite movie, Jurassic Park.
Absolutely. Yep. He's been in yeah. I mean, we could literally spend the next 17 episodes talking about Samuel Jackson's filmography.
We could. He has so many credits, and he's chosen some really amazing ones. And I like the fact that he was in our 1st anniversary episode with your pick, and now he's in our 3rd anniversary episode too.
Hell yeah.
Seeing him back again. And he was in, as I said, The Long Kiss Goodnight, last year's December pick from me.
Hell yeah.
He also recently was in The Other Guys for 7 minutes.
Yeah.
And Jeremy Irons voices Scar in The Lion King.
One of my past picks here.
Yeah, just a couple months ago. He also stars in The Mission with Robert De Niro and Reversal of Fortune. Lately, he's been in the DC universe because he was cast as Alfred.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Batman v Superman. One of them.
And Justice League,
Sweet.
He was Ben Affleck's Alfred.
All right, cool. He's also in a movie that I absolutely love, but I know the world hates, but I have such a great time with it. It's House of Gucci, where he is Adam Driver's character's father. Nobody can do a good Italian accent in that movie, but the movie's great.
Here's an idea. Hire Italians.
Yep, absolutely.
Another cop in this movie is played by Graham Greene. He plays Joe Lambert, and he's another actor we love on the show because he was in Maverick. He's
Yes.
Mel Gibson's Native American friend in Maverick. So good.
So good.
He also is the local cop in Wind River.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And his claim to fame is a movie that we will never watch again because my sister told us not to because it doesn't age well at all. He stars in Dances with Wolves.
Yes, he does.
Starring as a Sioux, which is his ancestry.
Very cool.
Yeah. And the last actor I want to talk about in this movie, even though she has a very small part, Katya, the crazy terrorist.
Oh, yeah. I had fun.
Yeah, me too. She plays a great psychopath in this movie. She's actually played by Sam Phillips, who was a very popular musician in the 90s.
Oh, really?
You will totally recognize her song, I Need Love. And even though you didn't really like the score to this movie, I do want to talk about the composer, Michael Kamen, because we are big fans of him. Even though you didn't like the score, you like his other movies that he's done.
I didn't like the score. I just didn't like the ants go marching in for 17 minutes of the 2 hours. It felt like it was never ending, and that's why I was like, was that a nod to Stanley Kubrick because that was used in Doctor Strangelove?
No, it's just Simon's theme.
No, I totally understand. I get that. The score itself I didn't have a problem with. It was just that particular moment.
Which is fair.
17 minutes.
It's not 17 minutes, but it does play often. I get that.
It does, yeah.
But Michael Kamen also composed the original Die Hard, What Dreams May Come, The Iron Giant, Highlander, Lethal Weapon, Roadhouse, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, The Three Musketeers, the one we like.
Oh, the one with Kiefer Sutherland and Charlie Sheen and Chris O'Donnell and Oliver Platt?
Yes, and he also composed Mr. Holland's Opus, Event Horizon, Frequency, the original X-Men movie, and Band of Brothers.
Holy mother. Wow. Band of Brothers, incredible. That is such a phenomenal series.
And a great score.
Yeah, no, that score is great. So is X-Men, so is What Dreams May Come. Yeah, across the board, pretty damn good music.
Yeah, Michael Kamen is a great composer. I'm surprised we don't talk about it more in terms of our general conversations about good composers.
I am with you on that. He's definitely not a name that I would know off the bat, but now I definitely will.
Yes, I think he flies a bit under the radar, which is a perfect fit for our show.
Absolutely.
And as I said, this movie was written by Jonathan Hensley. He also wrote The Saint, which I just covered. Armageddon.
Hey!
The original Jumanji, and The Punisher.
Oh, still haven't seen that one, but that
sucks.
Great.
It's okay. Yes, but...
Is that the John Travolta, Tom
yeah,
Jane
it's
one?
Awful.
Okay.
It's just very overdramatic. The
Gotcha.
series with John Bernthal is a million times better.
All right.
But yes, we like Jonathan Hensley, and he was actually detained by the FBI after completing the script for this film because he knew extensive information about the Federal Gold Reserve in downtown Manhattan.
Whoa.
He swore to them he wasn't planning anything, and he only knew all of his information from an article that had been written in the New York Times. so they let him go.
Wow.
And
Wonder if they went after that writer.
I know, next they're going to investigate the journalist who wrote that New York Times article, probably.
Absolutely.
And Jonathan Hensley actually wrote a scene specifically takes place in the Upper West Side. He set it there on purpose so he could watch the filming from his kitchen window.
Hell yeah. That's badass.
So badass to put in the script. But I'm also thinking, dude, you could have just walked on set. You're the writer. But
yeah.
He was nice and comfortable drinking coffee and had a good vantage point. So
shit, yeah.
Brilliant.
If I had that kind of vantage point, I'd do the same thing.
Right? Yeah. And John McTiernan, who is the only director who directed more than one Die Hard movie because he directed the original.
Yeah.
He's a great director. I'm not sure how he is as a guy, though, because he has been married 4 times.
Oh.
But beyond his personal life, he also directed The Thomas Crown Affair, which I picked.
Yeah.
The original Predator, The Hunt for Red October, Last Action Hero, The 13th Warrior, which is going to be a pick on my list in the future. It stars Antonio Banderas, and it's really underrated.
I remember you talking about that one, yes.
And Basic, a movie that we've discussed in passing on the podcast because it stars John Travolta and Samuel L. Jackson, actually. It's good. You should pick that.
I was going to say, that would be a perfect fit for this podcast because I've brought that movie up to people in the past. I'm like, you've seen Basic, right? Sam Jackson, John Travolta? And they're like, what? I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
You're missing out. That movie's bitchin'.
Completely forgotten movie, that's for sure.
Definitely.
And John McTiernan declined to direct Batman Forever in order to make this film.
Wow.
Part of me says it's a good call because this film's badass. Another part of me wishes he had because then we wouldn't have gotten Joel Schumacher's hands on the franchise. Yeah. And we wouldn't have gotten some horrible movies, but then we wouldn't have needed a cooling off period of Batman and Christopher Nolan coming in to direct. So,
yes.
Pros and cons to that one.
Definitely.
And there was a lot of discussion around the gold in the Federal Reserve in Manhattan and how you can steal something like that because a gold bar weighs a whole lot. And Samuel L. Jackson even mentions as Zeus, he picks one up and says, damn, this is heavy. A standard gold bar kept at the Federal Reserve weighs approximately 25 pounds.
Oh, whoa.
And currently the gold in the Federal Reserve is worth over $500 billion.
Jeez.
So I could understand why someone went on a plot to steal some.
Hell yeah. Give me 3 gold bars. I'm good for life.
Yeah. Especially with the price of gold right now. It just reached an all-time high recently.
Exactly.
And Lawrence Fishburne was the original choice to play Zeus.
Oh, cool.
But he turned down the part. So Bruce Willis suggested Samuel L. Jackson because they had just come off filming Pulp Fiction.
Hell yeah.
Sam Jackson was thrilled, saying he'd seen the first Die Hard at least 30 times.
Oh my gosh.
So he was a big fan, which is awesome.
Could you imagine, like, he gets on and says, man, I've seen the original motherfucking Die Hard 30 motherfucking times.
He certainly gets to swear a lot in this movie.
Yeah, he does. And motherfucker is one of his best.
Well, he did say in an interview that Zeus is the closest character to my personality that I've ever played.
Perfect.
Which is, if that is true, I really want to be friends with him.
Absolutely.
I've only seen Sam Jackson once in my life. We had a very brief convo, and he thankfully didn't say motherfucker to me. So
he didn't to me either, but granted, he didn't even see me. He just drove by a set I was on one time on Melrose.
Yeah, I gave you a thumbs up.
Yep.
And there's a scene in the subway, one that concludes with an explosion. But before that, Zeus is trying to answer a phone. and a cop comes up to him and tells him to freeze.
Oh, yeah, that's great.
He's held at gunpoint for quite some time by a police officer. And he keeps saying, no, I have to answer the phone. I need to reach for this. This is more or less the same scene that he later played as Frozone in The Incredibles.
Ha ha ha!
I just need a drink of water. Remember that scene?
Oh, yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah, I love that parallel. And then later, after he was in The Incredibles, they mirrored the scene with the helicopter in the background in one of the Avengers movies.
Oh, damn.
And
What a
Zeus,
career. He's spanned through so many different movies with the same damn setup. That's cool.
he spanned through so many different franchises, too. He's also in Star Wars.
That's true. Yeah, yep. God, could you imagine being Sam Jackson?
Well, that's why whenever somebody asks me, whose catalog would you bring to a deserted island, I always say Sam Jackson, because he's got such a good variety.
Yeah, that's solid. And nowadays, with the franchises that he's in, you could literally get every single Marvel movie because he shows up as either a post-credit scene or right at the beginning.
Precisely. Yeah, it'd either be his catalog or one of the character actors who we talk about who have like over 400 credits to their name, right?
Oh, yeah.
And in the beginning, Zeus's nephews show up to his shop. They are brothers in real life, Aldous and Edwin Hodge. And Aldous has actually they both have gone on to have pretty successful careers. Edwin is in a lot of TV, but Aldous, you would recognize him if you saw him. He's in Black Adam, One Night in Miami. He's MC Ren in Straight Outta Compton.
No shit.
Mm-hmm.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, so it's kind of cool to recognize that they were child actors as well. And this was their acting debut.
Very cool.
Yeah. And the sandwich board that Bruce Willis wore while filming in Harlem, it's blank.
Oh.
They wanted to make sure that no one was offended by the message if they were driving by the set. And so the writing was added with CGI in post-production.
Wow.
Which is really impressive for 1995.
Yeah, it is.
And just like every other Die Hard movie, Bruce Willis, as John McClane, is wearing his watch on the inside of his wrist.
I noticed that. Yeah, that always irritates me, even today in life when I see people do that. Because if you're going to fall wrist first, and you're going to smash your fucking watch. So why do you wear it that way?
Well, that's because Bruce Willis actually wears his watch that way.
Oh, okay.
And when I watched this movie as a little kid, I thought that was so fascinating and cool, especially because he was left-handed, that I wore my watch that way for about 10 years.
Oh, okay. I never did and never do. I wear my watch face up.
Well, I do now because I have an Apple Watch, but when I was growing up, that's how I wore it. And there are several callbacks to the original Die Hard in this movie, including the container ship that is used towards about 2/3 of the way in this film. The model of that ship is seen in the boardroom of Nakatomi Plaza in Die Hard.
Very cool.
Yeah. So I loved all the little Easter eggs they had of the original Die Hard in this movie.
That is so much fun.
And apparently the ending of this movie is not the original. In the
really?
Yeah, in the 2003 DVD, there's an option to see the original ending, which is a lot darker and pretty wild, actually.
Oh.
It involves a rocket launcher.
Whoa.
Yeah. But in filming and in the release of this movie, they changed it to the ending that we have now.
Sweet.
And Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson have appeared in 5 movies together.
Awesome.
Before this one, they were in Loaded Weapon and Pulp Fiction. And after Die Hard with a Vengeance, they were in Unbreakable and Glass.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. That's right.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah, I totally forget that they've been in so many movies together.
I certainly do.
And the budget for this movie was $90 million.
Oh, all right. Yeah, I could see that.
A lot of it was filmed in New York City because we were on the streets of New York City for a lot of this film. Other parts of the movie were filmed in South Carolina and an abandoned nuclear power station for the subway scene.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, but on a $90 million budget, it only made $100 million in the United States.
Oh, damn.
One of the theories is because this movie came out, as I said, May 19th of 1995. It was a month after the Oklahoma City bombing.
Well, there you go.
Bruce Willis made it a point to tell all reporters, or have his team tell all reporters, for the press tour of this movie, they were absolutely not allowed to bring up the Oklahoma City bombing because he did not want to trivialize the event by comparing it to a movie.
Sure, makes sense.
Which I respect. But worldwide, this movie grossed $360 million.
Damn. Hell yeah.
Did extremely well, and it was the highest grossing movie worldwide of 1995.
Badass.
Yeah. And so that is Die Hard 3, actually titled Die Hard with a Vengeance. We are celebrating its 30th anniversary this week, which is so exciting. and celebrating it for our 3-year anniversary here on this podcast.
Hell yeah.
So, John, now I think it's time to discuss your movie that involves time travel, but it is not Back to the Future 3.
That is correct.
Because we want to do a whole series of the Back to the Future movies instead.
Yeah, we do.
So why don't you go ahead and tell our audience what you picked for our 3rd anniversary?
All right. Well, just because you just finished talking about Die Hard and the release date of Die Hard, my film was actually released on May 25th of 2012, so 13 years ago, almost to the day.
Awesome!
I know. I don't know how that worked out, but it did.
Worked out perfectly.
Definitely. And my film, again, from 2012, this film, love it so much. Saw it in theaters, own the Blu-ray, literally have watched it 3 times just this year because I love it so much. This film stars Will Smith, Tommy Lee Jones, Josh Brolin, Alice Eve, Emma Thompson, Jermaine Clement, and Michael Stahlberg. This is written by Ethan Coen and directed by Barry Sonnenfeld. This is Men in Black 3, everybody.
I did not watch this movie in the theaters, unfortunately, because the second one scarred me so bad, I had to wait and make sure this movie was worth watching.
Yep, and it absolutely was worth watching. I've been watching it now for 13 years. It is definitely a once or twice a year watch for me. I remember seeing it in theaters and just being so happy with how good this movie was and how hysterical and how original and different it was from the first 2. Actually, just the first one, because we don't even talk about the second one.
We don't.
And neither does Barry Sonnenfeld, Will Smith, Tommy Lee Jones, anybody involved in number 2, because it was so damn bad. But they do have a couple of nods to Men in Black 2 in Men in Black 3, only very subtle ones. And if you are big fans of the series, even though nobody really likes the second one, you might be able to actually pick up on these Easter eggs, one being the pug portrait that
Yes.
Jay has in his apartment.
I love that so much. And the first time I watched the movie, I was like, oh my God, it's the pug from the first one, which we were so excited about as a family when we watched this at home in 1998 when we saw this the original for the very first time, because we had a pug growing up.
Oh, wonderful. Yes, he does go back to the first Men in Black, which I've discussed here on the podcast many, many months ago. I think we spent the entire time just gushing about Vincent D'Onofrio's performance in that movie. And we might be doing that this time around. Absolutely. We might be doing that this time around with Josh Brolin's performance as young Agent K, but we'll get into that in just a minute. For those of you that have not seen Men in Black 3, it's so damn good. It opens up with us meeting...
Boris the animal! You've got a visitor.
It's just Boris.
He is a Bogladite that has been imprisoned on Lunar Max, which is a prison on the lunar surface of the moon for the last 40 years. Agent K put him there back in the 60s, and now Boris has made his daring escape with the help of his girlfriend. And I gotta tell you, the escape is badass.
Yes.
Of course, you're not supposed to like villains in movies like this, but how can you not like Boris the Animal? I think Jermaine Clement did such a badass job playing this character, and the makeup by Rick Baker is so fucking cool that it's like, I like this character, but of course you're not supposed to like the antagonist, but you like Boris the Animal because he's hysterical. And I've never really been a big Flight of the Conchords fan, actually, at all, but I do like this actor, Jermaine Clement. He's done a lot of great work in the past, specifically as the crab in Moana with his badass song Shiny. Definitely a big fan of that one. So after Boris has escaped from Lunar Max, we find out that he has a plan to go back in time and rewrite history. So we are reintroduced to Agent K and Agent J. The alien craft that Boris the Animal has used has now crash-landed on Earth, and we're reintroduced to Agent K and Agent J very similarly to how we were introduced to the Men in Black in the first film, where they are about to neuralize some people because of a crash-landed alien ship. So Agent K and Agent J ultimately find out that this crash-landed ship was piloted by Boris the Animal, who has escaped from Lunar Max. After K finds out about this, he gets a little bit more K, if you will. If you've seen this movie, he gets very closed off. Jay's getting a little irritated with K because they've been working together now for 14 years, and even though Jay's still the type of guy to try and get K to burst out of his shell and tell him personal things, K is being very standoffish about it, not really wanting to tell him anything. And he says that a few times before they actually end up splitting up for the rest of the evening, that there are things that Jay just shouldn't know, and there are things that he's not ready to know, etc. So at one point in the evening, while both of them are at their homes, Kay ends up calling Jay and telling him very, very cryptically that he doesn't really want to bring Jay into this whole mess. He really just wants to kind of leave things the way they are and take care of it on his own. Immediately after this phone call, Kay disappears. And immediately after Kay disappears from his apartment, Jay starts to have an immediate physical response. He's very disoriented, he's very fatigued, he doesn't know what the hell's going on. So the next morning he goes to Kay's apartment, and Kay is no longer there. It's a young woman with her children, and Jay all of a sudden is now craving chocolate milk.
I love this scene so much.
I love this scene too. I remember seeing it for the first time, and I laughed so hard because, of course, we're like, "Oh, this is strange." And then after this moment, Jay goes back to the Men in Black headquarters. There is a completely new partner for Jay, played fantastically, even though it's just for like a minute and a half by Will Arnett. They're in the elevator, and as Jay is starting to realize that something is very wrong, he ends up meeting up with Agent O, who has just been promoted to the director of the Men in Black because Agent Zed, played fantastically by Rip Torn in the first movie, has now passed away, and she is trying to figure out why Jay is asking for Agent K, and she's asking him, who is he to you? So Agent O comes to the realization that with everything that Agent J is saying, that the timeline has been completely disrupted. There's a break in the timeline. And, of course, Agent J's like, what do you mean, timeline? She goes, well, time travel. And I love this whole exchange between both of them.
What's a temporal fracture?
A break in the timeline.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Time travel. Time travel.
There's no such thing as time travel.
Well, there is.
No, there's not. Because if there were, a Class 1 senior agent such as myself would have been made aware of it, wouldn't he have?
Were it not classified and way above his pay grade.
You know what? I need a raise.
So there it is. We ultimately find out now that time travel is possible, that Boris the Animal, the Boglodyte, has gone back in time, erased Kay from history, and now the Boglodytes are coming to destroy planet Earth. Very similar to the first Men in Black, where the Archelians are trying to find the galaxy on Orion's belt. Now we have the Boglodytes in 2012 trying to destroy planet Earth, very similar to the Carillions in the first movie, which is one of my favorite lines. There's always a Carillion death ray or an intergalactic plague or that's about to wipe out life on this miserable little planet. But anyway, so Jay, at this point, has nothing left to do but follow Boris the Animal back to 1969, prevent him from killing Agent K, and preventing the Boglodytes from taking over the planet Earth and ultimately destroying the human race, which is exactly what Men in Black is all about. And when Jay gets to 1969, beyond the fact that there are some absolutely hysterical moments between him and police officers and other aliens in the 60s, he meets young Agent K, played absolutely to the mother effing T by Josh Brolin. I will never forget the first time I saw this movie. I think I saw the trailer once or twice. My buddy Kingsley and I got absolutely ripped stoned and went and saw this movie at the ArcLight. We had nothing but fun. It was completely full of laughs, and it still is absolutely hysterical to this day. As much as I love the first one, if the first one didn't exist and this was the only Men in Black movie that existed, I would be completely on board with it. It's so much freaking fun. You can just tell that Will Smith, Tommy Lee Jones, Josh Brolin, Jermaine Clement, and Barry Sonnenfeld, everybody involved in this movie had so much fun making it. I don't know how many times, V, you've seen it, but since 2012, over the last 13 years, I've probably seen this movie at least 60 times. It's just so great. Like I said, we're in May of 2025, and I've watched it 3 times already. One at home, once when I was in Los Angeles with my buddy Joel, and then, of course, I had to rewatch it for the podcast. So I love it. Absolutely thumbs up for me. I don't know anybody that doesn't like this movie. And I'm curious, V, what your thoughts are, even though I already kind of know what they are, for my choice for our 3rd anniversary here at Movies You Missed Podcast.
I'm right there with you. I love this film. I've seen it 6 or 7 times since 2012 or 2013 or 14 when I finally got around to watching it.
Nice.
It made me fall in love with Josh Brolin all over again. I totally agree with you. This casting, not only was casting perfect, but his performance was perfect. He clearly put a lot of effort into this role. He mirrored Tommy Lee Jones's mannerisms to a T so well. And this movie is so funny without having to try too hard to be funny, which is the pitfall of so many sequels of comedies. I'm so glad they got back to their roots with the 3rd movie and redeemed themselves. And I love so many lines of this movie. I'm glad to use some of the audio clips, but the funny thing is, or a great way to prove that this is such a fantastic comedy, is I thought of other audio clips that were just as good that you could have used instead.
Right.
That's how great this film is. I love in the beginning when Emma Thompson walks up because we're being introduced to her as the new director, as O, and she does the eulogy for Zed. I always laugh when she does this eulogy in
so good.
alien language, and just how she introduces herself. Ladies and gentlemen, other life forms, and she's so
Yeah.
stoic about it. She's so great. This dry humor she has in this movie is so on point for it. And then, as you said, when Agent J goes to Agent K's house in the morning and he's not there, so Will Smith is trying to figure out what the hell is going on, and he needs chocolate milk, and he steals it from the little kid.
Oh,
You have to
yeah.
remember this movie came out in 2012, so the little kid goes, "Mommy, the president's stealing my milk," and I love that line so much.
I love that too. And then later on, the baby's like, he didn't say thank you, or like didn't say please, or something like that.
Yeah,
It's
it's so
good.
cute. It's so
like
good.
K, so it's 5K of my apartment number.
And then when he gets to work and he's talking to Emma Thompson, Agent O, or Director O now, about what's going on, and she asks him all these questions about, are you feeling tired and irritable? How long have you been craving chocolate milk? And she says, oh my God, it's one of two possibilities. And
Yeah.
can we just use the audio clip because it's so good?
Yeah, no, for sure. That's
Great.
fine.
Chocolate milk, sir?
Where you been, Mary? It's like an hour ago.
Wait. How long have you been craving chocolatized dairy products?
Just today.
Are you experiencing headaches, dizziness, loss of balance? Agitation, depression?
Hell yeah.
There are only two possibilities. One is you've been bitten by the Horvathian brain tick and could die in horrible agony at any moment. Ah! Damn it. It's not the tick.
Oh, it's just so good. And then when he does the time jump, and the way he has to do the time jump is so creative.
I love the time jump.
love it
It's so
so
awesome.
much. Yeah, we got to get high. And just everything
Yeah.
about that setup is so good. And I think I heard the Wilhelm scream when he's up at the location of the time jump. So I wanted to note that just in case for our 3rd anniversary.
I don't recall.
Well, it's a good excuse to watch it again.
Yes, it is.
And the one thing I had to look up for the viewing this week for the podcast, because I couldn't help it, I never thought about it too deeply until this viewing. Boris the Animal is great. I always thought he was a good villain, but I just thought he was some random actor. I'd never really looked too far into it beyond that.
Oh.
But as I'm watching this movie, I'm thinking, who is this guy? He's so good. I can't wait. I got to look it up. It absolutely floored me when I found out it was Jermaine Clement.
Yeah.
You will not recognize him in this film if you watch it.
Not at all.
Absolutely incredible performance by him. I didn't know he was that big, first of all.
Yeah, I know, right?
He's very imposing. He's very intimidating in this film. He does such a good job playing the villain. Hats off to him. I respect him more now as a performer because I now know he was Boris the Animal.
Yes.
And then at one point, and there's so many great characters in this film, it's hard to talk about all of them when you're summarizing the plot, but at one point Andy Warhol shows up, and that's a great scene too.
Yeah. Great scene.
And I love the man who plays Griffin, Michael Stahlberg. He's an
Yes.
He's such a good actor. He is not celebrated enough as a talented character actor. He has
That's
such
true.
a great range that just blows you away when you realize how many different roles he's played.
And he was just in The Amateur.
He was just in The Amateur, yeah. And so I just want to end by saying I love this film so much. I'm so glad you gave me an opportunity and an excuse to watch it again, because I haven't seen it in about a year or two.
Oh, wow.
And this movie makes me cry every time.
Yeah, it does get you in the feels a little bit, for sure. They did a great job with all that. Everybody really committed. And even when they're back in 1969, not only is it great to see Josh Brolin as Agent K, you see Alice Eve as young Agent O.
So good.
And not only is Alice Eve fantastic in one of my past picks of She's Out of My League, but I love the first time that Jay realizes who she is. It is so, oh my gosh. I think that might have been the funniest thing that I heard when I saw this movie for the first time. And then, of course, the movie just gets funnier from there, especially when Agent K steals the car from the hotel and then gets pulled over by the police. And there's just, it's absolutely thumbs up. And I remember when this movie went into production way early, like 2010, 2011, and there were just rumors floating around all over Deadline and Hollywood Reporter that this was not going to be anything any better than number 2. It was really suffering because there was no finished script. Nobody was committed. Will Smith was this and Tommy Lee Jones was that. But they ended up finishing the movie, and thank God they did, because it's so damn good. And I'm super happy to introduce our audience to it, especially because after Men in Black 2, majority of the world wrote off the Men in Black franchise because number 2 was just so bad. And this one really just completely revitalized it. And because of this, and now we're looking at it 13 years later, we will be getting a 4th installment, and I can't wait to see what that one's going to bring for us.
Yes, I hope it's just as good as number 3. The reason why the third one got redeemed itself and got so much better is because they started taking themselves a little bit more seriously again. 2 was just so over-the-top silly and slapstick.
Yeah.
It was just insulting compared to the first movie. And they were just trying way too hard. There were so many problems with that movie. I'm glad that they got back to their roots, and the screenplay was written with comedy in mind, but at its core, it tells the story of aliens, and it's an action movie.
Yes, exactly.
They did such a good job with this third film.
There's about 7 different documentaries on the DVD that range between 20 and 45 minutes long on the making of this movie, and I had never watched any of them until doing this movie for the podcast. So it was another one of those moments where I broke the fourth wall, if you will, for me, and looked into the actual production of it and got to see a lot of behind the scenes and on-set diaries of how much fun everybody had on this set. And while the budget was pretty substantial, it was a big one. It was a $225 million budget for this movie.
Shit.
Yeah,
That's a lot.
It is a lot, yeah. And mostly not only going to Will Smith or Tommy Lee Jones or Josh Brolin, but you have so many practical makeup effects in this movie by Rick Baker, who we have praised on this podcast so many different times with Tropic Thunder, the original Men in Black, Planet of the Apes, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, Enchanted, Hellboy. I mean, just so many movies that the guy's been involved in. He's a 7-time Academy Award-winning makeup artist. And a lot of the aliens that he ended up designing for when Jay goes back to 1969 all really play on what a lot of the old alien science fiction movies were from like the 50s and the 60s. So if you're really paying attention, you can see a lot of those old-timey alien designs, not only with just the screen heads, but just like with the bulging eyes and the antennas and all this kind of stuff. And it's really, really awesome. And they actually do a really good job with Men in Black 3 with incorporating other characters, because not only is Jack Jeebs in this movie.
Really?
Yeah, he is on Coney Island. He's one of the vendors in Coney Island. Very briefly do you get to see him.
I never have caught that.
I didn't catch it for the first couple of years of seeing this movie, but when I did, I was like, holy shit, that's incredible. And this time around, when I was doing my research, I didn't actually catch this right away, but when I was doing my research, I went to the scene, and the scene where Will Smith is jumping out of Andy Warhol's studio onto that landing and then onto that car, not only did Will Smith do his own stunts in this movie, which is really badass, but when he lands on that car, the person that's driving that car is Reggie from the first Men in Black, who they pull over, and his wife has the squid baby.
Only this time watching the movie did I think that guy is so familiar. Yes, it's Reggie. Oh my God, that's awesome.
So awesome. So badass. I mean, why not? You know, you're on the third installment. You're going on no holds barred whatsoever. Have some fucking fun with it. Throw them all in there. And it's really like the tie-in with that line of dialogue and all these other characters from the Men in Black universe.
Yes, especially when they bring up supermodels in this movie.
Yeah, definitely. The Andy Warhol sequence is so much fun, and Bill Hader as Andy Warhol was just awesome.
Love that so much.
There were a couple other actors that were in consideration for some of these characters. Now, Boris the Animal went, obviously, we know, to Jermaine Clement, and he did a phenomenal job. And I honestly would love to see this version of Men in Black 3 with this actor as Boris the Animal. Sacha Baron Cohen was considered to play Boris the Animal, and I think he would have absolutely been badass as well.
It's funny, just now when you were talking about other options for that character, for some reason, John Malkovich popped up into my head.
Oh my gosh, Malkovich would be so awesome too. Hell yeah. I kind of take his character of Hava Kavula from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy and just make him more evil, and that would be Boris the Animal in Men in Black 3.
Yeah, just combine that with Cyrus the Virus from Con Air and you got it.
Oh my gosh, that would be so badass. I'd be on board with that. So there's 3 versions in a different universe that I would love to see now. Mark Wahlberg was also considered to play young Agent K.
Oh God, no, absolutely. I'm so glad that didn't happen.
I'm glad it didn't happen, but I
terrible.
feel like, I don't know. I think he probably would have had a fun time with it and done just fine. But when Josh Brolin did audition and do his Tommy Lee Jones impression, Barry Sonnenfeld ended up bursting into tears of joy because he was so excited that somebody was able to not only land the mannerisms, but the whole like, "Oh, you got something over there, Hondo? Like, what you doing, slick?" Like, the whole thing was just so stupid awesome. There's an early scene where Jay and Kay go to an Asian restaurant and have dinner. Under the guise of having dinner anyway. They're there to actually find out what's really going on. This is when Kay starts to really pick up on the fact that something's definitely wrong and somebody's very likely after not just him and Agent J, but him in particular. There's a big battle sequence that takes place with guns and with frying pans. And Agent K smashes this squid sort of snail alien in the head like 5 or 6 different times. And every time he smacks this alien in the head, there's a different tune, a different note of music. And as he does this, ultimately, the theme song to Close Encounters of the Third Kind is played as he is beating this alien to death.
Well, his head keeps getting flatter and flatter, so it made sense that it was a different tone coming out, but
Yep, I know. It was
didn't even
great.
catch what it was playing. Oh my god.
It's just so brilliant. I just thought it was such a great nod to not only another Alien classic, but just a phenomenal soundtrack.
Such good subtlety.
Barry Sonnenfeld has a couple of cameos in this movie. I'm sure, V, you know of the one, or later on in the movie. Maybe not. Maybe, V, you might recognize him in the scene where the space shuttle is about to launch out of Cape Canaveral. He and his wife are sitting in there, and they are just getting ready to watch the launch in their living room.
Oh, that.
He's got the pink shirt on.
I had no idea what Barry Sonnenfeld looked like. That was him. That's very cool.
Yeah, that's Barry Sonnenfeld. That's the director of the last 3. Including Good Morning Vietnam and several other films that are also very good. He also has another cameo when Agent J jumps off the Chrysler building during the stock market crash. He's one of the suicidal stockbrokers, which is fantastic. He lifts his hat to Agent J.
Yeah, that's such a great scene.
It really is. The whole thing going back in time, when I was watching the making of documentary, there wasn't anything written in the script about what Agent J was going to see as he jumped through time. So that was all put together by the visual effects artists, and they came up with just a brilliant thing.
Mm-hmm.
The whole dinosaurs, the stock market crash, the building of the Chrysler, the building of Manhattan. And I love the fact that Agent J gets completely stretched out and then ultimately ends up back to where he was on that gargoyle. And his chuckle as he's walking off the top of the Chrysler building always cracks me up. And then he gets in the elevator with the one guy and he's like, "What's the date?" That whole sequence has always killed me, and it still does. Especially when he's like, "Look at me like I'm crazy."
Yeah.
Now, Rick Baker, we've mentioned several times before, and his credits for this film for Boris the Animal. Jermaine Clement spent 4.5 hours in makeup to get into the Boris the Animal eyes and face and teeth and facial hair and all of that madness.
And his neck and his hand. And
Yeah.
He has so many
A lot of that was
effects on
practically
there.
done, too,
Yeah,
which
I
is
bet.
really badass. Of course, we know the digital moments of the movie where his hand opens up or his eyebrows kind of open up into different hands in his mouth. But yeah, majority of the makeup is very practically done and very, very convincing. Just super badass makeup in this movie.
Totally agree. And I'm so glad they brought Rick Baker back. It happens very often where you have sequels or continue the franchise and some of the original people don't get brought back. And it's kind of sad, right?
A little bit, yeah.
It makes me think of when you were doing the Lucifer pilot and then they moved the whole show up to Vancouver and kind of left the whole crew out to dry. And so it's nice to hear, I mean, Rick Baker obviously being a multi-time Academy Award winner, I'm sure has something to do with it. But just in general, bringing people back, I always love seeing that.
Definitely. That was another cool thing about a couple of the making of documentaries like Rick Baker and Sonnenfeld and Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones. There's so many clips of them just having conversations and laughs and, certain stunt sequences that are about to go down, even pre-visualization of visual effects with the makeup and stuff. It's just so fascinating and it'll never get old. It's just stuff that I'd love to watch, even though certain directors and certain movies I don't want to find out how it was done, and this was kind of one of those movies that I, like I said earlier, never watched any of the making of, but I'm really glad I got to for this time around because it's just so fascinating. And I think one of my favorite scenes of not just the movie, but with Jermaine Clement is when he's on Coney Island Pier on the motorcycle and he pulls up to that couple and they're like, "Make love, not war." And he's like, "I prefer to do both." And they start laughing and he starts laughing too. Just that whole like,
Do you know what that reminded me of? Is Alan Tudyk in Resident Alien when he tries to do a human laugh because he doesn't know any better.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, Resident Alien is such a fantastic show.
And it's getting a 4th season.
Oh, that's great. I've actually not even finished the first season, but I love it so much.
Oh
Amy and
my
I have been slowly working our way through that one.
So good, and it's currently streaming. Go ahead and give it a watch. Resident Alien is great.
Absolutely. Thumbs up. Yeah, the first 4 episodes are absolutely hysterical, and then they just get better from there.
Yeah.
Alan Tudyk is amazing.
He, perfect role for him.
Definitely. Now, just a few minutes ago, or almost about a half an hour ago or so, we were talking about Die Hard with a Vengeance and how the ants go marching in is in your movie for 17 minutes of the movie.
It's not. Okay, fine.
I know
Go
it's
ahead.
not 17 minutes.
Yeah.
But I thought that, and as I'm watching it, and even still now, I'm curious if that was any kind of nod to Stanley Kubrick, because there is a nod to Stanley Kubrick in Men in Black 3. There's actually a few of them, but this one in particular actually really tickled my fancy, because this nod to Stanley Kubrick in Men in Black 3 is not only on the screen where they're talking about aliens that are out in the world. They have Tim Burton and Yao Ming and Lady Gaga on the screen, kind of like how they do in the original movie.
Yeah.
But there's a moment later on in the movie where a code CRM114 comes up, and CRM114 is one of the codes in Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb. So they gave a nod to Stanley Kubrick and that film, which I did, I think, for episode 15 of this podcast.
I love that movie so much.
So awesome. One of my last pieces of trivia before I get into the budget, which I actually already did drop, but I will get into a little bit more of. 3 months to build the 1969 Men in Black headquarters in a soundstage in Manhattan, New York. So that was all practically done. Very well done. All the colors and all of those aliens there are practical. There's actually a couple nods to the original movie as well. Not only with the aliens, but Rip Torn is one of the aliens in the funeral sequence.
That's great.
And the reason apparently he actually could not show up for this movie was because he had a prison sentence of some kind. I didn't get too deep into what kind of prison sentence that was.
I thought it was tax evasion.
I think it might have been tax evasion, because them actors like to evade the taxes.
Don't quote me on that, but that's what I think it was. And I
don't think anybody should quote me on that either.
But I love that scene. It's one of my favorite scenes from the 1969 sequence. And I love that you brought up that all the aliens looked like the classic idea of aliens from the 60s, because I totally agree. That's the first thing I thought of too, is that they had that classic look. It reminded me of all those old black and white movies of aliens coming in, or even the X-Files. And I thought all of the costumes were phenomenal.
They were pretty badass.
Oh, and the worms are back in
yes,
Men
they
in Black
are.
3 too.
Yeah, playing the bagpipes.
Yeah, that was great.
I used to have toys of those. They would bend and whatnot. They were really cool.
Nice.
And I would always make my own movies and do like, oh, they got the quad, like how they do in the original Men in Black. Viennese cinnamon. That whole thing was always funny. So like I mentioned, right at the beginning of talking of Men in Black, 3 came out May 25th of 2012. The budget was $225 million. Opening weekend pulled in 54.5 domestically. It only brought in 179 mil.
Which usually would be good, except you have a $220 million budget. Is that one of the that has to be either, if
it's
not
certainly
the most
one of the most expensive movies
that you've
in
done
the last 20 years. Oh yeah, that I've definitely done here. Yeah,
I was thinking it might be the most expensive movie you've done on this podcast, is what I was wondering.
That's a solid question, because I feel like Tenet and Interstellar might have surpassed this one by like 10 million.
Yeah,
but this is certainly a budget that I did not anticipate.
Yeah, I was thinking 180.
Yeah, I was thinking within probably Hondo, 150 million, but 225. And Will Smith apparently ended up making over $100 million on this movie.
Back points.
Yeah, 100%. So not only was the domestic 179 mil, but the worldwide box office for Men in Black 3 was $654.2 million.
Hell yeah.
So it did just fine. And I, like I said, saw it once or twice in theaters. I remember going the first time. I've had the Blu-ray ever since. And I'm not lying. I've seen it at least 60 times. It is absolutely one of my favorites of a threequel. Again, it's really just the second one, because number 2 doesn't exist.
Yes.
And this movie was so well received, not only domestically and worldwide. It did come in at the 12th highest box office for the year of 2012 in the domestic box office numbers.
Awesome. And I believe The Avengers was the top grossing movie for 2012?
It absolutely was. And number 2 was Dark Knight Rises. Number 3 was Hunger Games. Number 4 was Skyfall. And number 7 was Brave. So it had some competition.
Good year.
Absolutely. So that is Men in Black 3, everybody. It's not currently streaming anywhere. I watched my Blu-ray copy. You can rent it on Apple or Amazon for $3.99. If you have seen the first two, forget about the second one and watch this one as soon as you can if you have not, because you've been waiting or thinking it's not going to be good. It's fucking fantastic. Give it a shot. Absolutely one of my favorites, and I'm so glad I was able to bring it to the podcast and to you, our audience.
And if you've seen the first Men in Black and not the second one, you are in an elite class of movie watchers.
Yeah.
Go ahead and watch the third one now.
Exactly.
And in a weird coincidence, Tommy Lee Jones was always going to be discussed for this episode on our 3-year anniversary because we were discussing whether or not to pick third movies and trilogies or another set of our all-time favorite films for this episode, because the tradition is we pick our favorite movies for our anniversary episodes. My pick for my next favorite movie was going to be The Fugitive.
Ah, there you go.
So no matter what, we were going to talk about Tommy Lee Jones today.
Perfect. That's a great movie too, and we will bring that one to the podcast in the future.
Probably our 4-year anniversary.
Oh, all right. I like it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was so much fun. I loved both of these movies. I think mine is a little bit superior, but if I watch it with a 1995 eye...
No.
Okay, cool.
I will happily agree with that statement. No worries.
All right. But not that Die Hard with a Vengeance is not good. It certainly is. This was a really good 3-year anniversary for us here at Movies and Miss Podcast. Thank you guys for joining us. Please do rate, review, subscribe, follow us on all social media, and watch these movies. You know, if you haven't seen any of the movies that we've discussed from episode 1, we're at episode 162. You've got over 300 movies to watch because we do 2 movies every episode. So get your asses in gear and watch these movies.
Yes, and soon our website will have a page dedicated specifically to every single episode of ours and every single movie we've picked, so you can go through our catalog and remember all the movies we've discussed.
Hell yeah. We've had a lot of fun, and we will continue to. And we are getting closer to our mid-year review, and I can't wait to destroy some movies.
That describes our personalities to a T, because I was about to say, I'm so excited to talk about all the movies I loved.
Oh, and I've loved a lot of 2025, but I've also really not liked at least 4 of them. So it's definitely a good ratio of movies that I've enjoyed over the ones I've not liked. So keep an eye out for that one. That's coming up in just the next couple of weeks. Last week was our Mother's Day episode, and I really hope and am so excited for next week, because as May is winding down, we are going to be getting the final Ethan Hunt saga film of Mission Impossible. And what does that mean here at Movies and Miss Podcast? That just means that V and I are going to choose our favorite Mission Impossible films to discuss before the final one comes out, even though V needs to see Dead Reckoning Part 1 again because V has a problem with it. Who knows why? I guarantee V will have their mind changed once they see Dead Reckoning Part 1 again. So, next week, V, which Mission Impossible movie are you choosing?
I am choosing the most underrated entry of the Mission Impossible franchise. It is one of my favorites. I think my favorite might be Fallout, but it changes depending on my rewatches of the franchise. I try to rewatch the franchise about every 18 months because I love it so much. It is far superior to James Bond. Even though I'm a big James Bond fan, I will readily admit that. I am choosing my sister Shannon's favorite Mission Impossible movie. This is Mission Impossible 3.
That is a great one. I am going to go to the 4th entry of the Mission Impossible series, and I'm going to go with my favorite one. As much as I love Fallout, this one is absolutely my favorite one. This is Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. I will watch 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. I will not watch number 2 again.
No, I will never watch number 2 again. If you want to follow along, please do, especially because we will be discussing every single Mission Impossible movie of the franchise next week, including our personal rankings. And currently, the Mission Impossible movies are streaming on several platforms, not only Paramount Plus, but also Hulu and Amazon.
Perfect. And I've got number 3, Ghost Protocol, Fallout, and Dead Reckoning Part 1 all on physical media. And I still need the first one and Rogue Nation.
I celebrate the entire collection. I have every single one of these
Perfect.
on digital. I rewatched number 2 again about 7 years ago. I won't ever watch it again.
Yeah, it's definitely not a revisitable one.
No, even though Anthony Hopkins is in it. It's that bad.
I don't even remember him in that.
Hopkins couldn't even save the movie.
Definitely not. Sweet. Well, we look forward to that one for next week. But V, I'm curious if you would watch Die Hard with a Vengeance with your grandmother.
It's bloody, but there aren't any sex scenes in it. I would watch this with any adult, honestly. I'd watch it with my grandma. Why not?
Yeah.
It is certainly very vulgar in terms of the language.
Yes.
So I think 14 or 15 and above, just depending on how much you swear in your household.
That's solid. I like that.
And John, would you watch Men in Black 3 with your grandma?
Oh, I absolutely did at least once or twice. My grandmother was a big fan of the first one, as was my grandfather. So yes, I have watched Men in Black 3 with my grandmother.
It's rated PG-13, right?
It is, yeah. It's a hard PG-13, just like the first one is. But yeah, it's.
There's no nudity. There's very little blood or violence. I mean, there's some violence, but there's no blood. There's no graphics violence to it. There's a lot of peril.
I'd say it's a solid, it's like 15 and above. Or actually, even young.
No,
I'd
I would
say it's like 12 and above. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Men in Black has always been kid-friendly. It's family-friendly stuff.
It's kid-friendly, mother-approved. If not,
there you go.
Podcast
That's
approved.
Good. Perfect. Awesome. Can't wait for next week. It's going to be a blast. No pun intended. And I am choosing to accept that mission. So here we go with next week. Thank you guys so much for joining us here at Movies You Missed Podcast. Please do, like I said before, rate, review, subscribe, follow us on all social media. Please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts as well, because you will be in the running for a watch party with V and I in the future. So, and that's all we got here for you today. So, as always, here at Movies You Missed Podcast, we love to close out with film as a form of art, and in art, all opinions are valid, except if you think Thunderbolts was a good movie.
No, except if you think the second entry in either of these franchises is worth watching.
I like it. Works for me. We'll see you guys next week. Cheers, everybody.
Bye-bye.